Hi, welcome everybody. We'll go ahead and get this birds of a feather started up. Yeah, we may want to shut the doors. I don't know, people up there going to be a little loud. Okay, and then let me do one last thing and switch back to here. Okay, so hi, welcome. I am Jenny Drnevich. I'm also part of the Bioconductor Carpentries team, and I'm going to give it to Maria Doyle here to get us started, but hopefully we will have a good discussion.
Thanks, Jenny, and thanks everyone for joining this session. So we're hoping that this session, as it's a birds of a feather, we want it to be more of a discussion and to get your input, comments, thoughts on teaching as well. So I've just got a few slides. I think I've got 10 slides just to give you a bit of an overview of what we've been doing and on the Bioconductor Carpentries program. And then we're just going to open the floor to questions, comments, discussion. Okay, so last year, so August 2022, Bioconductor became a member of the Carpentries. So who here, hands up if you know or you've heard of the Carpentries? Okay, a few hands, but not all hands. Okay, so I'll explain in a moment what the Carpentries is, but there is a blog post on the Bioconductor blog. If you Google that, it's blog.bioconductor.org now, and a post from last July announcing the membership. So you can get more details on it there. And it was led by the chairs of the Bioconductor Teaching Committee. So that's Charlotte Sonnenson and Laurent Gatto, as well as other members of the teaching committee, such as Jenny, Robert Costello, Susan Holmes, these names here, and also Toby Hodges, who's who is the Carpentries curriculum director, was involved in this. It was before I started. I started in September, and one of the projects I was working with is this Bioconductor Carpentries program. And I should say that this membership is supported by a grant from Chan Zuckerberg Institute. So we're grateful to them for supporting it. Okay, so why did Bioconductor become a member of the Carpentries? Well, the reason is that Carpentries is a non-profit organization like Bioconductor. It's worldwide, and its goals are to teach computer programming and data science skills to researchers, because they identified that there was a need for people to have these skills. And so they really focus on best practices and understanding teaching pedagogy and good ways to teach programming skills to researchers. So it matched with Bioconductor's goal of we want to be able to teach people how to use Bioconductor packages according to best practices. And so we wanted to also have the goals of ensuring excellence in instruction, and also to work with Carpentries to develop infrastructure for material for teaching, to make it easier for people who want to teach Bioconductor courses in their institutes or around the world. And another aim we had was the Bioconductor Community Advisory Board had gotten feedback that people would also like the opportunity to be able to teach Bioconductor courses in their local languages, to make it easier for people for whom English isn't their first language, and for them to be able to understand concepts and things in a language that they know better. So that was another aim. Okay. So it started then in last August. Bioconductor became a member of the Carpentries, and as part of that, 15 members were going to be trained by Carpentries to become instructors. So it was going to be 15 in year 1 and 15 in year 2. This is a summary of it here. We actually ended up with 18 because we had a couple more applicants that we decided to get additional funds to support. So we're currently paying and funding these people to get this training. And of these 18, to give you the bottom line, who started last year, we started inviting them in, I think it was November, December last year. So it was 18, and 15 of them have already completed the certification. So they're now certified carpentries instructors, which is brilliant, because that's, the other 3 are still in progress, but that's 80% right now. And the average carpentries completion of certification from people who start is only about 40–50%. A lot of people just drop off, fall away. So this is what we were hoping, that by giving them more support, which I'll talk about in a moment, through the Bioconductor Teaching Committee as well, and opportunities to teach, we could help more people through the process. Okay, so how did we actually select these 18 people? So because we had more than 18 people who applied, it was a Google form that was circulated. We really wanted to try and get a global distribution, because initially when we circulated the form, we found it was a predominantly European, which was nice to have a lot of applicants, but we wanted to make sure that we were really reaching out to the worldwide bioconductor community. So this involves some contacting people specifically who we knew had contacts in, say, Africa and Latin America, to try and get some more, try and get the reach further. So we managed to do that. This is a map showing where the instructors that were selected are based. And it's another blog post that you can see on the Bioconductor blog from February. And how we also, so we tried to have it, select the trainees across the world. So initially not 2 from, say, the same institute. And we also took into account that they had to have at least some R and bioconductor experience. At least a year is what is sort of our rule of thumb as a minimum level, because we did have some people apply who had like 2 months R experience, which is going to be hard to then start teaching. So we've said to some of those people, you can apply again in a future round. We also prioritize people who had some organizing experience, because the hope is that these people will then organize workshops and spread the teaching to their community. We also did some prioritization on people if they could teach in other languages, beyond English. And also what we asked them, how do they intend to contribute to bioconductor teaching in the future, to make sure, because we know some people would like to have this for their CV, but to make sure we're trying to select people who do want to give back. Okay, so then what did those selected people have to do? So this is what's involved in the Carpentries Instructor Training Certification process. So first, the applicants have to attend an online, at the moment they're all online, Carpentries Instructor Training Workshop, which is 2 full days being taught how to teach programming. So 2 full days or 4 half days. And then after that workshop, they have to complete these 3 checkout tasks. So they have to do a teaching demo. So it's a 5-minute teaching demo in front of a couple of the carpentries main trainers, to make sure that they are teaching according to practices. They also have to take part in a carpentries discussion and make a contribution to a lesson, so through GitHub. Okay, so in parallel with that, we also realized we don't have any list of who actually in the bioconductor community is certified. So 1, to have one place to have this information, and 2, so that if the new trainees want to see who around them is also certified, they could potentially then teach workshops together or collaborate with these people. So at the moment, we've just started it's in a GitHub repository, in the Bioconductor Teaching GitHub repository. And I created a map It's actually not this map, but another map that has all the instructors who are certified in Bioconductor community who've given us their names, and anybody's free to get their name added up here when you're certified. So I think it's about 30 or 40 people we have on that list at the moment, so across the world. And so year 2 then, so we have 2 years funding at the moment for getting instructors trained. So year 2 will start from August, we'll start that selection. We have a number of people who've already applied, but we do have some more places that people can apply to. So if anybody wants the link to the Google form, let me know and I can send you that. And so we'll be selecting another 15 people then to become instructors. Okay, so and as well as training instructors, we're also developing material for Bioconductor Carpentries, because they have actually got a really nice infrastructure and a new version of it called the Carpentries Workbench, which has a nice layout for teaching foundational skills like this. So this is a screenshot of the RNA-seq one that Jenny here was teaching before the Bioconductor conference this week. And so if you can see in the screenshot, you've got your sidebar with the different episodes so that are part of the workshop. And it also has, say, at the top of every episode, questions, objectives, and then within the material, you've got like challenges with solutions. And feedback we got from the learners was that they really liked this nice layout and format for the material. And so the Bioconductor teaching group have been creating 3 lessons for Bioconductor Carpentries. And the aim is that these give like foundational skills and introduction to Bioconductor for people. So one starts from scratch. That's an introduction to data analysis with R and Bioconductor. That's led by Laurent Gatteau. Then there's the Bioconductor project, which is more aimed at developers who aren't familiar with Bioconductor and what the project is and its classes. And then the third one is RNA sequencing analysis with Bioconductor that Charlotte and Jenny have been leading the development on. And these 3 are all in GitHub in the Carpentries incubator. So the incubator is where lessons get developed before they become official Carpentries lessons, because they need to go through some rounds of teaching to make sure that the content also meets certain standards and can be taught by others beyond the people who initially created it. Okay, and this slide then is to show you what workshops have been run or are being run using this Bioconductor Carpentries material. So the first one was the introduction to Bioconductor in R, which was run before EuroBioC last year in Heidelberg. We also had online, there was the Galaxy Smorgasbord online teaching in May, and the Bioconductor intro and project were 2 of the workshops that were part of that. The RNA-seq workshops was run for the very first time this week, brilliantly led by Jenny here. And we're also got plans for the Bioconductor intro and RNA-seq workshops to be run before EuroBioC in Belgium in September. And with these workshops, we're also using them as opportunities for the trainees to get a chance to teach content and to teach to the Bioconductor community. So we had some of the new trainees helping out, answering questions in Slack for the online Smorgasbord one. We also had one of the new trainees, Sayun O, was one of the teachers this week at the workshop for the RNA-seq one. And we have 5 of the new trainees who are going to be teaching at the EuroBioC workshops in Ghent. So that's how Bioconductor is trying to create opportunities to give these people a chance to give back. We also have some of the new trainees organizing their own workshops. So they can teach the Bioconductors material, or they can also use the skills that they have learned to teach Bioconductor, not necessarily Carpentries, but other topics. For example, Leo Latti is going to be teaching on microbiome, but also incorporating some of the Carpentries material into a course he's going to be doing in Norway in September. And we have a few others of the new trainees who are planning to teach some bioconductor material at courses in Nigeria, Brazil, Mexico, and also online. Zhugang, who's actually teaching right now or doing his demo in the other parallel session, is planning a online workshop series on his package, Complex Heat Map. So he's actually one of our trainees. And he's also the author of the amazing Complex Heat Map package too. And he's hoping that if he can create this series in English, he may then be able to do it in Chinese as well for the Chinese community. So yes, so the newly trained instructors are great. They're contributing as teachers, helpers at the workshop, and they're also contributing to the material as well. So then this is my last slide, just to say if any of you are interested, well, one, there's still spots, so if you want the form, let me know. Two, we have these monthly online teaching meetings, which are called the Bioconductor Teaching Committee, but they're open to anybody who's interested in teaching to join. The link, you can find the link to the Google Doc. The minutes are all online, and you can find through that link. And yeah, it's a good meeting for discussing what the needs are and what's going to be done. Also, if you want to contribute to any of the material in GitHub, like even like reading through the material, if you see typos or things that you think could be improved, that would be great if you could let us know. You can open issues, videos. So something we have been discussing, but as part of the teaching committee, but we haven't actively done yet, is that it would be nice to have videos, like Beth was saying today. We actually had a few requests at the Smorgasbord online training that we did with Galaxy, because that workshop was a lot of Galaxy tutorials, and a lot of them have videos. Our Bioconductor ones didn't. We had a few from the conference that we could use the conference videos from last year, but the Carpentries have no videos yet, other than Jenny recorded the one she did this week. But along the lines of what Beth was saying, just as like as she was flowing. But yeah, videos are something that it would be nice to have. And translating material. So one of the aims of the Bioconductor Carpentries grant is to try and make the material available in more languages. Kozo Nishida, some of you might know, is a really active member of Bioconductor Community Advisory Board and has been running translation meetups for translating different types of material. And he's linking us with the Carpentries, who also want to try and do more translation for their worldwide community. So we're thinking of focusing on the introduction to Bioconductor workshop as a first, and seeing if we could translate that into other languages. We've identified Spanish as being the one with the most demand. And this involves, we're trying to see if we can do it in a partially automated, first step automated, second step person going through and curating and seeing if it makes sense. Last point I just put is advising, just generally giving us any input on things you think would be good to do or that you could help with. For example, we've had many requests for virtual workshops. The RNA-seq workshop that we did this week was in person, but about half the people who applied to attend wanted it to be virtual or couldn't attend because it was in person. So, and something we've been discussing this week and on and off in the past is what is the best format for these, because a 2-day online workshop can be a lot for learners to sit through and can be quite disheartening for instructors to teach if you end up 2 days talking to black screened videos off, and yeah, it's not very motivating. So we're trying to figure out like if we can what's the best format for these. So that's all the slides I had, and now we are happy to take any questions or comments. So if anyone has questions, please let me know. And actually, I see some hands. What do we do here now? Do I just repeat the question for people online? Oh, okay. Okay, I will go. I'll just saw, who was, okay.
Two questions. One is, do these workshops, they happen spontaneously, like it's up to the instructors to decide when they want to teach, or it comes from Bioconductor to say, oh, we need a training in this, like, I don't know, Oceania or Asia. And then the second question is if you plan to expand from those 3 modules to other types of analysis.
Okay, I'll take, right, stand here, Mike, okay.
Yep.
I'll take the first one. So that was, are we deciding what's needed and where and when? At the moment, it's a mix of both. So say for these ones that are part of the conference, so the one that was this week, the one that's part of Euro BioC in September, we decided that it would be good to run these workshops alongside the conferences. So we set the dates, the venues, the times, and then reached out to the instructors to see who would be interested in teaching. Some of them then have come from the trainees themselves, like say Leo who's based in Finland, but he wants to teach in Norway, so that's him deciding that. But interesting you asked that, because Hedia, who's sitting right here, is someone who's reached out to us on behalf of her community. So the Our Ladies Tunis, who do a lot across Middle East, is that right? And right across to India, contacted us and said there was huge demand for virtual workshops, and a lot of their attendees couldn't travel to Boston, say, for this, but they would really like to do attend the RNA-seq. So it's a mix of both us deciding and people reaching out. So if anybody sees a need, they can reach out to us.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, were you done?
Well, I was going to answer question 2, but unless you had.
No, well, I just was going to say that. So I've put the link in the chat, and here it is. If you want to go to this bit.ly link, people in the room, I'll leave it up for a second. That will go, and this was our online note-taking document for the workshop. But if you click on this link, it'll take you down to the very end. I thought people can either type in questions, or we can survey things or stuff like that.
That would be great. And then, sorry, what was your second question again?
If you plan to expand those 3 modules to other types of analysis, like, I don't know, attack-seq or chip-seq.
That's an ongoing discussion we've had. So we've had interest in, like, single cell would be the next one we've had most demand for. But one argument is that these are, and the carpentry style is more foundation. So to get you started, so we don't necessarily want every single type of, or we're not sure if it would fit so well with how they teach the concepts, because we also have the conference Build a BioC workshop template, which is what's used for the workshops and demos here. So that can be the format that we could then use for these type of workshops.
Yeah. Well, if anybody is willing to develop a carpentry style workshop, we will be happy to look at it included. But it's more like what Beth was saying, is like, here's the place you just throw everything, and here's the place you can have this wonderfully manually curated, but it's so steps that you've got to go through that nobody does it. So it is a bit of work to get it into the carpentry style, and they are really, they said, meant to be foundational, and not you put every possible thing that you expect at least intermediate knowledge of R coding even to be able to do the other stuff.
I think single cell is great because Bioconductor already has pretty much the entire book on single cell with the Oscar book.
Yeah, which they, by the way, they turned into a lovely teaching that they had at ISMB last year.
That's brand new.
Yeah. So what's the link? Oops.
Last month. So it's
Last
really
month.
fresh.
Yeah. So if you go on to like where the workshops are, if you look at ISMB, there's one on single cell, and then I found that I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. I'm like, I've got to teach a single cell. I might just, with proper attribution and credit, use all their stuff. Yep.
Has anybody used this, or is it appropriate to use for like an undergraduate class to teach?
I think it's perfectly fine if you think it would fit with the learners and what they need. As far as I know, it's mainly been used for PhDs so far, but it's pretty new. So if you do use it, actually, if anybody does use it, which you're very welcome to use any of the material, if you could let us know, so we can, we're also trying to maintain a list of where the material has been taught.
So it's okay to use it if you're not a certified.
Oh,
Yeah, it's only when, for the certification, that's when it has the Carpentries logo and like it's advertised as a Carpentries course. But even Carpentries say themselves, I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure,
yeah.
that you can take the material and adapt it into your own courses.
Most of the carpentry material, they are focused on short course, really focused, like they define really specific goals, really specific content. So thinking about undergrad level content, like one specific course would be just one module, just one specific 2-day material. No, they don't focus on giving a full curriculum.
Those short things take a long time in undergrad.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I want to, because you also express that doing remote workshops, those materials can be disheartening, but actually the carpentry's material, the carpentries also has specific training on how to teach online, how to how to define your learning personas, how you drive your material to specific, missing the words, to specific groups. So actually using the carpentry material actually helped doing the remote learning. They had a really good workshop in 2020 when the pandemic began, specific focus on how to teach online on a short notice, because everyone needed to start doing that. So actually they also focus on that, like they're following the carpentry's framework. Actually is supposed to help on that, not really to be a barrier on remote learning.
All right, that would be great, because did I hear you were offering to help or give us input on the virtual? That would be
I'm really interested.
super. Adrian?
Just following up from that, like within Bioconductor at the moment, there's a lot. I know we've discussed this as well. There's a lot of training materials, and we've got carpentries, you've got the workshops, you've got all the books that people don't even find, like the Austin book and the High C book, which aren't listed with the other books. You've got the CSAMA course, and in a way, like trying to organize that's complicated. But what you were saying about the different learning personas, is there a need there to actually start saying, right, if you're this learning persona, this is great, like carpentries is a really good place to start. But if you're this persona, actually, you may prefer this, and actually splitting it up like that more so. Does that make a sense?
Yeah, there's a lot in carpentry. So I pulled up here. One thing they want you to do is kind of put learner profiles for your workshop. Like, who do you envision is going to want to take your workshop, and why are they going to want to take your workshop? And particularly for this RNA-seq one, is already people who knew about RNA-seq and needed to know how to analyze their data, which is a small subset of the community. If you're talking about just basic R introduction for undergraduates, you need to really quickly get them to, why is this important for you? And if you can motivate the learners that way, then they're like, okay, I'm interested. I'm actually going to go through the pain of learn how to code that I've never done coding before in my life. So there is, that sort of thing. How do you, for a specific course, you design it with particular learners in mind. And it's not going to be interesting to somebody who is not already wanting to learn more about RNA-seq for this one. Same thing with our introduction. So that's why it's the broader carpentries. It started with software carpentries, which is more just general data science skills. And then they kind of spun off the data carpentries, which is those skills, but focused in from a particular subject area. Or, ecology has its own introduction to R, and there's an, introduction to R for librarians, and introduction to R for, all these different ones that's different from the main software introduction to R, which is really program based. Like within a half a day, they're getting you to write your own functions. And if you're or if you're somebody doing research like me in this field, I'm never writing my own functions. I am using other people's packages that have already written the functions, but I need to know how to do that. So that's why you can have introduction to R taught from all of these different perspectives, and that's why we need so many of them. So, yes.
I have a question on how does the logistics for the translating the material is going? Like, how can we contribute to translating, and how does it work? Like I just saw there was a workshop in Brazil, like, and I would love to translate all the material that's there for Portuguese.
That is great to know. So I will note your name later. So that the translation part is still in early days, I would say. So we literally just had someone from Carpentries who's leading their translation come speak to the Bioconductor Community Advisory Board at the last meeting, so a couple of weeks ago. So it's September now, COSO and Carpentries are planning on having an initial, I guess, online meetup where people can join and see about how they can contribute to the material. I am also planning to specifically reach out to the trainee who's going to be doing that Brazil Portuguese one to see what if they need help, so I can let you know.
I'm gonna be there.
Okay, okay, that is brilliant to know. Okay.
But like, and another question, like, I normally teach undergrad classes that have biology on the background, and it's very hard to get anyone that is exclusively a biology undergrad to want to do any code. Like, is there like ways to bypass that? Like, because like 2% of like 40 people classes like really do the stuff. So like,
Yeah.
Would the yes cure stuff be useful?
That's a good point. Actually, I forgot to mention that because there's so many things happening in Bioconductor. Sometimes I forget to include them all. So Yes for Cure is a teaching initiative by Aideen and Vince for undergrads. So from on statistics.
Just Google.
Do you want to put
Yeah.
it in?
It's on Vince's GitHub.
And I'll add it into this Google Doc as well that Jenny's got. So that's specifically aimed at undergrads, teaching them statistics and using cancer as the domain.
So the cure is continuing undergraduate research education, and it's a NIH initiative for underrepresented students. And it's been run here in the Farborough for years. And a lot of both high school students and undergraduate students come to Dana-Farber during the summer from local schools and undergraduate colleges who are underrepresented, with the idea that then they get interested in research and pursue a research career. But the Cure office kind of was talking to Vince and myself that they didn't really have anything for bioinformatics, that everything was lab-based. And, you know, how could you get, you know, these undergrads and high school students interested in, like, you know, dry lab science kind of thing. And so that's why Vince and Alex actually developed the Yes for Cure program. So it basically takes cancer statistics and leads the students through an analysis of that data. So they can kind of get some R skills, but very much from the idea of like understanding data and cancer statistics.
Did you?
I was just going to make one quick comment and then take Beth, who had a question, and then the people online. There's 2 questions online. So, okay, you saw that. We're also trying to, one of the reasons we got involved with the Galaxy Smorgasbord online training is we're trying to build closer links with them as well. So people who are using the point and click Galaxy interface, if they then want to go further, Bioconductor tutorials, which they can also start playing with, like Bioconductor intro was part of the smorgasbord. They could then move over to that. It's not such a leap. So that's one thing we're doing. Beth, I saw you had your hand for a question.
It's more a comment than a question.
Okay.
We've been working on some translation stuff for some of our things. We've, if putting a little bit of money in upfront is a possibility, we've really liked Transifex because you can machine learning translate everything upfront, and then you can have up to the smallest packages 50 seats, and so you can have people asynchronously around the world translating your stuff. So
I think Kozo's looking at that one, and Crowd In was the other one as well.
yeah,
That's
happy
good.
to talk about offline, like we've had good experience with it.
That would be great. Is this question then for why is there from Kurt Hanks, why is there a separate Our Ladies group? The Our Ladies are not necessarily about carpentries or teaching. They are a community for women, or not necessarily women, I think anybody is welcome to join, who are using R. But teaching is one part, isn't it? Teaching is one part of the R Ladies. It's not its sole.
Yeah, you give like workshops about something like you're interested in, and we get like a speaker. So for us, well, in the experience in Tunisia, actually we moved from Our Ladies to Tunis out of the group because there are these like, yeah, people think that because it says Our Ladies, it's only for women. So yeah, so that's why, but Our Ladies, it's like you want to learn something, or you have a speaker who can come to teach something, and so that speaker come and give like a workshop. Mainly in our case for Tunis, it's virtual, and for Tunis another group, but it can be also in person. So yeah.
Thanks, Hediya.
Yeah, so one question I had, so like I said, we taught this in person, which I so love teaching in person compared to the Zoom. And it was just so nice to have the interaction, but that's very limiting. People have to be in a physical place to do it. And the convenience of now, let's switch to a virtual, that can be done. And so this is going to be taught, the RNA-seq one is going to be taught again just next month. And then after that, I think we'll have hashed out the materials kind of well enough to maybe then start looking at offering it virtually. So then if you do virtually, there's time zones. Do we break it up into, there's total 12 hours, but with breaks, it's like 2 full days, 9 to 5. Do we break it into the Carpentries instructor training? They did it in, you can do 4 half days. Do we break it up even further? Do we have it once a week for 2 hours? Then you get attrition. People lose, they come the first time, they come the second time, and then they just don't come back. So there's virtual, what's the optimal chunk size to instruct and time frame? And then moving that, well, you just record your video when you're on Zoom and it's really great, but then you've got a 4-hour video to load up, and I look at a video on YouTube, I'm like, oh, 10 minutes, I can't watch that, unless it's something I really need. So then it gets to how do we chunk up and optimize videos that are then there for people to watch whenever. And then so there's in-person, virtual, and asynchronous training, basically is how that works. And so how do we fit all of this together? Anybody got ideas? Is there something online?
Yeah, I'm just pasting the link. Someone was looking for the link for the application form, so I was going to drop that in the chat. And then I think there was another question. Was there above that one?
Yeah.
From Jonathan?
So I guess the question is there a way for us as a community to navigate, to not only figure out the needs of ourselves as researchers, but then how to address what is too much? I'm not quite, Jonathan, can you? Not exactly sure. Oh, is that response?
Can you request access?
Oh, yeah, yeah, go ahead.
No, I mean,
Oh, yeah, you can request access if you want to talk.
The main way we are navigating and trying to figure out what the needs are and how to address them is those monthly teaching meetings. So if you can make them or follow up in the doc, and if you can't make the meetings, we also have a Slack channel in Bioconductor Slack, which is education and training. So you're also welcome to post any comments or thoughts into that channel. And that Slack address is slack.bioconductor.org.
I'd like to ask, how would I know, like, I'm good enough to be, for teaching the workshops? Is there a certain level of expertise and expected to have?
Well, it's like, yes and no. There's 2 ways to think about it. In some ways, if you're only a step or 2 above a beginner, you remember what it was like. And you can, if you know too much, you've forgotten what you never, oh, I've always known that. And so sometimes having the complete expert is not the best person to do the teaching because they're so far away from the learners. I would just say that you need to feel comfortable enough with the material. I mean, I've done it where I've taught somebody else's material and I'm like, hope nobody asks me a question more than what's there because I'm not sure I could go into it. So I guess maybe it's your own comfort. I guess anything that's R-based, if you're fairly confident in your R skills, just your general R skills coding, then 'cause sometimes you do have to kind of code stuff on the fly. And you don't necessarily have to be a certified carpentries instructor. I said either to teach material on your own or even to help out if we do an official carpentries. We need one person there that's certified. And as long as, you follow the material. But yeah, no, there's that, imposter syndrome. I can't, there's no way I could teach somebody else. I don't know enough to do the teaching, but yeah.
Yeah, I just to reiterate what Jenny said, having a look at the material and see if you personally would feel comfortable standing in front of a room teaching that. The carpentries checkout process is really nice as well because they get you to do that short teaching demo. So, and I think even a couple of the trainees may have had to repeat that. They didn't get it right first time, but that's part of the learning and that's okay. It's not like it's one strike and you're out. You can keep improving.
Yeah, the carpentry training, they have exactly those steps. For the first step is actually generate some kind of material, so you are proficient in actually developing teaching material, and then you also have the workshopping demo that you are evaluated as being. So actually doing the workshop, the carpentries instructor training is a way of getting there.
Yeah, and I think this one of the checkout things is that you have to make a pull request to one of the lessons, and their formal lessons are just so well done. It's like people are like, here's a typo, and so that's why I think they're pushing people now more towards here's our incubator. There's lots of lessons people that can be improved or helped on, and you don't have to like have a full here's a whole hour of teaching material. It's like you can just do a small amount, but they also it's technical. Do you know how to do the GitHub part as well?
About the time for the best online, from my experience teaching undergrads during pandemic, it only works these long courses, like 12 hours is long.
Yeah.
If it's like they are on the subject, like they are matriculated on the subject and they have to be there every time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because like at least for me, on these long workshops, if it's an entire day, after the 1.5 hours, I'm already lost and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So what I would try to do, and I tried to do in Brazil before, is doing a optative class, like a formal optative class that is only R and Bioconductor, but following the material. That's how I did to actually try to teach something in undergrad.
Mm-hmm.
Like make people actually do the bureaucracy to sign up for a class, than to only like workshop and online forms, because then they need to appear there to get the credits.
Yeah. Again, a lot of it gets back to learner motivation, and if they're not motivated to learn the materials, say we're not here to grade them and give them an F if they don't come and learn it. It's up to them, but we can try to make it easy as possible to get in. We can try to make it as easy as possible for them to find materials in their interest area and to make those, reasonably. Like all the carpentry stuff, it's really interesting because their philosophy of teaching live in person to somebody is, I'm live coding and I don't even show you this nice website. And maybe I'll have given it to you, but you don't even give that. You're supposed to live code and type everything the way that but this is still here with all the verbal explanations. So it's also a standalone teaching guide. People can walk through this on their own and it's meant to do that as well. So, one thought there's with the office hours with doing that, because that was more the way that the Galaxy Smorgasbord is that either here's a video or here's our, walkthrough. We put it on the Galaxy. Here you get an RStudio environment, so you don't have to worry about having RStudio installed. You don't have to worry about getting packages installed, that sort of stuff, to overcome that barrier to get you coding first. And then, then they were available on the Slack channel. So there's all sorts of different ways you can kind of do asynchronous training. We can have these things that people could go through and ask questions. We could have, you know, the virtual that we kind of chunk up and maybe to 1 hour, or every time we have a break, we end that recording, but those will still be like an hour long.
Or there's the flipped classroom style, which we haven't done yet, but I think Radhika's done
Just
that,
that.
which is people work through the material themselves, and then there's a dedicated time for people to come and discuss the challenges or extra questions. So it's more of a discussion and problem solving than a didactic teaching.
Only about like 1 hour. Like, yeah, in our case, we put on YouTube like the Chinese Alusa group 2 hours, and we've got 800 views. So it might be not an issue 1 hour, 2 hour if someone really wants to learn. So yeah, it's maybe 2 hours. We saw that more than 2 hours it's an issue, but 2 hours is okay.
Yeah.
But after 2 hours, you will see people disappearing.
Yeah.
And once we had also like an experience with breakout rooms, it's like we had maybe 40 attendees, and then we opened the breakout rooms and we had only 10 after that. So sometimes people are really shy about making like mistakes or in breakout rooms or asking for help. So yeah, also thinking, should we, if it's virtual, should we have breakout room or not? Because we have to think also if people like thinking, maybe I don't know how to solve that issue or problem, and I will go side fix, not anymore. Interesting.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. We are just about out of time. And
But
they
we
need to
are
get-
around for the rest of the conference, so
Yes.
and we would love to hear any comments or input you have or discuss it further.
Yes, no, and especially let us know if you're interested in getting involved in teaching.
Yes.
There's all sorts of levels of teaching, but again, the whole idea is, I said, carpentries, get more people into that bottom of the pyramid of beginning data scientist-ish, and then at the end, maybe you'll get more people that progress all the way through up to developer status, which I won't ever get up there. And it's fine to be the bioinformatics middle class. There's nothing wrong with it, just to be a user.
So thanks everyone for joining this session, and thanks for the great discussion.